The protagonists shrink, everyone is confused. What happens next? We'll find out in the second episode of Dragon Ball Daima. But surprisingly, not a whole lot actually happens here. Still, it was wrapped up so charmingly that it never got boring. Especially because there are so many things that remind me on the old Dragon Ball, while also introducing plenty of new stuff to learn and discover. Starting with Gomah and his crew, they did get their wish granted, but since they are not exactly regulars with loyalty points, Shenlong refuses to grant the other two wishes and decides to clock out early. It's kind of strange, because in the past there was always another one who made the wish, except for Yamcha, he got to go twice. So it's both funny and confusing. I would have explained it more like Neba forcibly summoned the Dragon Balls back, which left Shenlong without enough energy since he didn't get enough rest. But you know what that really is, besides of the joke? Good storytelling. Because we know that Gomah is after the evil third eye, our antagonists still have a goal. We understand that this quest could make them stronger and more dangerous, but they will also have to go on an adventure to get it. They can't rely on the Dragon Balls anymore, since Neba can only pull off that magic trick once. Plus, we know Dagetsu is still hiding something, because he hasn't even made his wish yet. If they had just gotten all three wishes granted easily, the whole drawn-out plan from the previous episode would have been pointless. Something had to go wrong. And the fact that it went wrong in such a blunt way, I actually find that hilarious. On top of that, the Dragon Balls can be used again in just 4 months, since only one of 3 wishes was used. With that one wish they got, they can at least now easily kidnap the now even more defenseless Dende and use him as a hostage if necessary. This, of course, gives our protagonists a reason to even venture into the demon world. Traveling to Namek might be a waste of time, since the Dragon Balls there could still be rocks after the whole Buu situation. Plus, it wouldn't be much of an adventure if they could just finish everyone without effort. Instead of constantly escalating power levels to the point where no one can keep track of it, like what happened in Super, they've taken a different approach here, similar to GT. They are making things harder for the protagonists by turning them back into kids and kids into babies. Otherwise, Trunks and Goten would already be way too strong. It's like the smaller you are, the bigger the adventure becomes. The villains feared Dabura. That Gomah or someone else will get a power boost thanks to the third eye is also still open as well. But getting to go on one last adventure with Goku and his friends, who now have to relearn basic things like flying properly and struggle with fighting because they can't gauge distance and have less strength, which is not as badass, but it's definitely funny. That's a point a lot of people seem to completely overlook. Unlike One Piece, which is an adventure battle shonen with comedy elements, Dragon Ball was originally a comedy manga with adventure and battle elements. You can even see that in the number of pages when Dragon Ball was published in Jump. While One Piece and other action manga typically have around 18 or 19 pages per chapter, comedy manga usually run with about 13 to 14 pages. It's a shame that the comedy aspect faded away during the Cell saga, but it did come back in the Buu saga. And that's exactly what Daima brings back. Something that real OG Dragon Ball fans should understand. Comedy. At its core, Dragon Ball was never about constantly getting more intense or escalating power levels. The editors more or less pushed Akira in that direction. What he really wanted was to make people laugh while also throwing in some action. That's something people shouldn't forget when they claim Daima isn't true to Dragon Ball. This is pure Dragon Ball, just the way Akira originally intended it. Full of humor. All of the friends have now been shrunk. Bulma, Mr. Satan and even Majin Buu. Master Roshi is definitely feeling this change more than anyone else. Interestingly, only the friends who actually fought against Buu in some way or at least encountered him have been shrunk. So, of course, that includes everyone Buu turned into chocolate at Kami's lookout, but not Master Kuririn or Turtle, since they never directly faced the evil Buu. This means Chiaotzu shouldn't be shrunk either, while Tien should be small again. So they are basically the same size now. Goku, Piccolo, the Supreme Kai and Kibito immediately set off to figure out what's going on. They find out that Dende has been kidnapped and learn who's responsible for it all. And Mr. Popo, for real, turns out to be much cuter than expected. And he's got horns! We finally get to see what's under his turban. It's also confirmed that not everyone with pointy ears comes from the demon world, but a high percentage of them definitely do. The Supreme Kai, of course, remembers his brother and the demon world, and for Piccolo, the bells start ringing when he hears the name Neba. Apparently, he also seems to know something about this world, which must have come from Nail, who was probably lectured about it by the Grand Elder. I mean, they didn't have much else to do back then. Piccolo and Kami didn't even know they were aliens or Namekians at all. So it has to be Nail. In Daima, they are constantly referring them as Namekujin, instead of Namekuseijin, as was the norm in Dragon Ball. This is probably because the characters now know more, especially about the demon realm, which wasn't the case back then, and certainly not part of the original plan. Namekuseijin essentially means they're Namekians originating from planet Namek, similar to how we are Earthlings from Earth. Namekujin, on the other hand, suggests that while they are still Namekians, their origin is different. It refers more to their species, like how we refer to ourselves as humans or Saiyans. It seems that Namekians named their newly settled planet after themselves, calling it Namek, rather than the planet being the original home. To start the chase, Kibito quickly brings over the spaceship that the Supreme Kai originally used to come to this world. It's awesome how the design reminds you of Namekian houses, especially Kame's spaceship. But it needs some repairs, and Bulma is the perfect person for the job. Vegeta tags along too, because he's up for it. While Kibito is basically being used as Bulma's delivery service, Goku is training non-stop to get used to this new, smaller size. Meanwhile, Vegeta uncharacteristically seems pretty chill about it. Maybe the size difference bother him too much, those few centimeters. Or maybe he's secretly enjoying not being the shortest for once. Goku also wants to get his power pole, which will help him cover distance. Unfortunately, it's no longer connecting Korin Tower to Kami's lookout, because Master Roshi's been using it as a clothesline. It's just like when Roshi used the Bashosen fan as a soup coaster, and when it got dirty, he just tossed it away. Luckily, the power pole is still around, so Goku can show some of his old skills. Just as they were about to settle down for a meal, Kizaru shows up. Well, it's a blue-skinned dude from the demon realm, what the Supreme Kai quickly figures out, recognizing him by his ears. Of course, it's not because he's flying a very similar ship to the one he himself used. That's Glorio. The name Glorio or Gurorio doesn't come from glory hole, but rather from the plant genus Gloriosa, which takes its name from the Latin word gloria, meaning glory and honor. It seems like the blue skin characters have a theme going on here, because another one appears in the opening and outro, Panji. Panji also comes from a plant name, the Pansy or Viola. Longtime fans with a memory as sharp as Vegapunk's might even recall the first Dragon Ball movie where a character named Panji also appeared. She called Goku and the others for help to protect her village from exploitation by the king. Glorio knows all about Goku and the fact that they have been turned into kids since he was spying on Gomah in the previous episode. That's how they know who's really behind everything, and they now have a clear target. Glorio is after the same goal, which leads them to quickly team up. Apparently, he works for the king of the third demon realm, so that there are more of them, just like they are with the Supreme Kai or Kais, is really nice and opens up a lot of possibilities. After Bulma gives the ship a quick inspection from outside, she somehow will speed up the repairs, allowing the first group to head back into the demon world. Too bad for Vegeta, who really wanted to join. And with that, the second episode of Dragon Ball Daima comes to an end. But how do you feel about this episode? Is it better or worse than the last one? Just write it down in the comments. Missed the first Dragon Ball Daima episode? Then you click here. For a random video, you can just click here. Of course, like and subscribe if you wanna join the adventure. But that's it again from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see us next time, so take care, my friends.